hour on the incline treadmill has been completed. I'd probably prefer the seated bike, but no seated bike at this gym. I've been doing a ton of seated bike, and changing up the treadmill's all right. But I can definitely feel my calves are getting worked. That 5% incline adds up. But found a nice little cozy spot overlooking the city of... What is this city? Silverthorne. Yeah, it's freaking cool in here. It's like just a little valley between all sorts of mountains. But scan through the QNA, I think I got I got like 35 questions. So we're gonna be here for a minute. So starting off, Big Seagull 1147, and if I see a repeat, because I just go through and I screenshot these, I'm gonna skip you. We're not doing repeats this time. No, none of these double questions. We got to keep it a little fair. But if you were forced to train with suboptimal conditions, bad sleep, long work days, limited equipment, what principles would you refuse to compromise on? Ooh. Well, I mean, honestly, probably the principles that I still think are the most important for anybody. And if I have two, it's going to be consistency and effort, right? Consistency and effort, name of the game, absolutely crucial, right? So what do I mean by that? Am I just making that shit up? Someone who is coming into the gym every day, let's say 5 days a week, 6 days a week, whatever, for the most part, every day, super consistent. Well, guess what? If he's almost got no choice but to make progress, because he's always showing up. And then you combine effort with that, it doesn't even matter what the guy's working with, you know? So, I mean, in terms of limited equipment, like, this gym isn't much bigger than somebody's personal garage gym. I mean, they'd kind of be balling because it's got, like, there's a ton of stuff. But it's not like a full-on Gold's or like a new tech gym Vegas or, you know, anything like that. And I'm still getting badass lifts, you know? Like, there's a certain mental box you can put yourself in where it's like, oh, I don't have the most awesome, crazy gym. Oh, I'm not going to freaking be able to make any gains. Shit, you know, screw in the towel, throw it in, all done. No, man. You know, when I started working out, you know, I didn't have any kind of crazy aspirations or anything. But I just had a pair of 30s that, you know, was in my parents' basement that I brought upstairs and left on the carpet next to my desk. And it just started with a couple of curls, you know, in between just sitting on my computer playing Fortnite. So, yeah, consistent effort is very rarely not rewarded with progress. I can say that for freaking sure. Brandon01931, aside from bodybuilding, do you have any other goals that you're working towards? Shit. I mean, you know, nothing that you wouldn't describe as just regular, like, life progress. But this is, like, pretty much it. I got a good chunk of eggs in this basket for sure, so I'm gonna be careful with it. But yeah, I mean, mainly the bodybuilding, and maybe that's like a one-dimensional mindset. But even from the beginning of when I started working out, it didn't take long to just become an obsession. But it didn't feel like that. Like, you know, when you go down a rabbit hole of like a hyperfixation and you're like you're super into this new thing. I didn't exactly have that like hyperfixation on it. It was just kind of an instant like, all right, I'm into this. Let's keep this going, you know? And then, you know, that's the reason why my calorie tracker is on day 1,688 out of, like, you know, the 2,500 or something days I've been working out. Like, it just did not take long. So I think somehow the stars aligned and it just looked, you know, lined up where, at least currently and for the foreseeable future, the gym is just my freaking thing. And I'm totally cool with that, you know, because yeah, I mean, that's just freaking fun for me. But yeah, nothing else too crazy, that's for sure. Chickus Chicken 4576. If you lost all your progress tomorrow, physique, followers, everything, what is the first habit you'd rebuild and why? So that's actually kind of a weird question, because that's kind of that's like a situation of you get sent back in time 10 years and you have all the knowledge that you have now. Like, I would just get, on instant track that I could based on whatever that starting situation would be in this kind of alternate universe. I think a better way to say this question was, what's a tip for someone, or like if I had a clone of myself made, where it's like, I've got to be my own mentor and tell myself what to do next, what to work on, what to focus on, like things like that. I think that's a better explanation of the situation. And to that, I would just say, shit, man, it's going to take a little while. So just have fun during the process of it, You never, in your entire life, or just in 1 year, how many times are you going to hang out with your buddies? Or how many times are you going to do something fun? You're not, upset that you're not done with having fun yet. The process is the point. There's a really nice phrase about, it's like this kind of just talk about like a ballroom dance. There is no end, there's no beginning. Like, the act of doing it is the fun part. So if you can kind of resonate with that with the gym, to where you're just excited to go work out, and that's a good portion of your day that's pretty fun, your progress will just begin to kind of snowball. Because if you're somebody, like I would probably say, at least for now I am, where to come into the gym and get a good workout is just fun on its own, and I like the results that it gives me, and I want to keep moving towards more results, well, then there is no external motivating factor. It's just, this is what I want to do. If you want to go get some canes, nothing's stopping you. You're going to go do it. So if you can really tell yourself, like, all right, I want to get freaking whatever, be it big, strong, lean, anything, right? It's going to take what it takes, but just kind of, keep that in mind. So I guess what I'm getting at there is just try to have fun with the journey of it. Because if you're only focused on the end result, well, shit, what's the point? Why even live? The end result is you're just going to croak anyway, so do what? Like, it's more of having fun along the way, I feel. So whether or not that perception will change over time, who's to say? But yeah, just, I'd say try to get into a position where you just are excited to get a pump on the regular. Stephen Tracy 6857, will you auction off the Camry? Well, before anything like that, I'd have to get it extra cleaned up first. It has been around, and I haven't necessarily treated it super well. We're always seeing here camera in towards just like, I've filled the thing with trash, got it super messy. Just it needs a detail, that's for sure. I think it would be really funny to get it souped up with a crazy engine and do a sleeper build. I don't know how to do that, and to find somebody who could do that would be crazy expensive. It won't even be worth it, even for the gag of it. So who knows? As far as it stands now, that's just going to be the car to drive when it's snowy enough that I don't want to spill it in the Mustang. But you never know. It's definitely got some energy behind it. Sai Islam, what's your current deck on Clash Royale? So I went through and screenshotted all these, so I already have it pulled up. So you tell me, oh, I gotta turn my brightness down. Maybe not that far down. Yeah, there we go. What does that look like? What does that look like right there? So I kind of go back and forth between the lumberjack and the TNT looking bomber. And sometimes I'll throw a clone in there, because is it just a bomber? 4 of those bombers all at once is nuts. Plus, if you mirror clone the healer, you can just do one straight push if the guy can't defend it. So not conventional, but it's kind of fun for me, and that's the whole freaking point. Would you want to travel around the world to try out different types of gyms? Asks Deceased Rafi. Yeah. And what's crazy is I've kind of already done that a little bit, Not super far, not crazy freaking kind of traveling. But even in just a couple of months, we're going to go back to the UK for the UK Arnold. And beyond that, shit, you never know what could happen, right? So we'll see. Nothing's on the agenda just yet. But yeah, I think that's the future definitely holds some travel. Ah, shit, they're getting out. All right, I gotta tell them I'm fine. Yeah, it was funny. Some Silverthorne natives. Nah, those guys were freaking cool. They thought I was stuck. I'm kind of like pulled off on the side of the freaking road here, but yeah, that was probably the last thing they would have expected. But yeah, so back to the question at hand. So, what are your top 3 anime and top 3 physiques from that anime? So, JoJo Part 1 and 2, everybody's jacked. That's like just the theme. But Part 3, Jotaro, yeah, he's got it going on. And then, as much as you might think, I'd say that's a later question. I'll save that for later. So yeah, Jotaro for sure. Baki goes fucking crazy. I was watching Baki when I started working out back in high school at my old rec center. Or no, what I'm saying, at my old high school, because I would have a study hall for my last period, and I knew the gym teacher, or at least because he was the same gym teacher I had at my middle school, so he would let me come down and lift while they had like a weightlifting class. So I kind of get to cheat the system, and then instead of having to drive to the gym after school, I could get a lift in during my last period, which was really cool. But the days where I was going to lift later or something like that, yeah, that OG like 1998 Baki, it was going freaking wild. So yeah, Baki, Jotaro. Oh, yeah, I think those are the top 2, at least in terms of like the physiques from the show. In terms of shows themselves, One Piece is nuts, but they need to condense it from a zillion episodes down to like a few hundred. And then I'm sure they'll do it eventually. One Piece is a freaking cash cow in a good way. Like it's so they're going to do a revamp. I'm freaking certain of it. Alexander Weber 928. Do you have any passions aside from bodybuilding? I don't know if I'd say passion, because passion's a strong word. I'd say I have a passion for bodybuilding, at least in the sense that I think about it a lot, but not in like, at least I don't feel like it's in a compulsive way. I feel like it's in like I'm excited to do it. I want to do it. Like this is a fun kind of thing for me to do kind of way, you know. So not like an unhealthy obsession, right? But yeah, in terms of other passions, nah, that's pretty much it. Got other interests. I've got other interests. I like I'm always tinkering. I think I'm gonna have to up my game with my home computer. I think I've got like an i900K. I don't remember. I just bought a pre-built, but I just started recording some videos with a camera that can do 8K, and it's a lot. Like it's I'm looking at my CPU utilization, and it's 100%. So I might have to up my game there. And then watches are freaking cool. There's a couple of questions about that a little later. I don't remember if I screenshotted them or not, but yeah, watches are freaking cool. I got the Swatch 1965 on that I got 2 days ago, and then I got the so it's just a bunch of like a plastic version of an Omega Speedmaster that they kind of did, and it's kind of fun because if I sweat in it, I don't really mind. But yeah, I'm always scrolling Chrono 24, you know, so if you know about that, you know, it's like, ooh, we're gonna add that one to my likes, you know, that kind of stuff. So yeah, every time I see somebody wearing a watch, I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's got some shit on. That's freaking sweet. But yeah, nothing too wild. Yeah, passion, bodybuilding's definitely spot number freaking 1. Maurizio Ando, how would you describe your childhood? This one had 20 likes, so that was a well-liked question. I'd say pretty good. Very, very active. I had a very active childhood. Like trampoline in the backyard, summertime. During the winter, we would swim. So I was on the swim team. I would dive during the summer because that was the only time that the diving season was in the summer league. But yeah, until I was like 12 or something, we were all on the swim team. So every winter, we were running around swimming, and then in the summertime, we'd swim in the morning, and then we would also just be like biking around all day in town because we lived close enough that we could bike around on our own, where it's pretty much just like, gym, man, go free range. Like this is before even having like a phone or anything. So I remember jamming out to one of the like first My Hero Academia songs way back when on an iPod Nano. Like that was a freaking while away. But yeah, very active. Active is definitely the right word. Biggest tip for teenagers 13 to 17 who are going to the gym and getting after it. No, we're good. All right. Thank you. I'm parked in a very precarious spot. Like this looks bad. I think somebody called a tow truck. Oh my goodness. Kevina 9397. Biggest tip you have for teenagers 13 to 17 who are going to the gym. What? Did I say that twice? Well, either way, biggest tip I have, bring it, right? And what I mean by that is try to up your game lift by lift. And it doesn't have to be perfectly constant. Like, you don't have to be, I guess in a way you do end up being better than you were the day before. But you don't have to perform better. But if every day you perform, at least with effort, you've got no choice but to progress. So my favorite moments when I was younger getting into the gym was every time I'd be basement, 10 o'clock at night, know anything. There wasn't even any inkling of like, okay, eventually I'm going to post on social. Like there was no outside validation for these workouts. I'm just at home. All right, let's fucking hit chest. And I'd have a really killer day. Like it'd be a sick chest day in the basement. Nobody saw it. Nobody saw anything. And for me, I'm like, yeah, all my lifts should be like that. So if you set yourself up well, you get a good night's rest, you really get a decent amount of food, or at least a really decent amount of water. Like if I'm hydrated, I'm good. Even if I barely ate anything, I'll still feel decent. And then as long as that kind of prep is in order, by the time you actually get to the lift, shit, man, you're ready. So the harder that I went when I was younger, the more normal it became to go that hard, and then the easier it was to keep emulating that and adding to that intensity over time, right? It's like anything. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So the more you go hard, the better you get at going hard, then the easier it is to go that hard, and then it just kind of spirals upward, and eventually you're freaking, throwing some crazy weight around that you never thought you'd be able to lift. And especially in your formative years too, because eventually you kind of get to a point where, I don't want to say you can coast, but like right now my routine is incredible because I can really kill it consistently and it doesn't feel like it's trudging me down. Like I'm not getting burnout from my routine. Whereas maybe as a beginner, with the amount of like consistent effort I'm giving now, it might have been a little trickier. So it just kind of worked its way up to where it is now, if you feel me. So really, just clock some hours. I think that's my best tip there. Random Stuff X, how do you stay so calm after cheating on your diet? I've had some crazy cheat days. I haven't had a really big one this diet, kind of because I'm just sort of sick of food from the last bulk. But yeah, last prep I had a couple like 10,000 calorie days. So what makes me not freak about that? Which, probably shouldn't have done it in the first place. Not because I broke someone else's rule, because it was against what my goals were. But it just kind of ended up counting as a refeed, Like, the way that I visualize what's going on in my body, if I just said, you know what? Screw it. Pop the car in reverse, drive down to the gas station, and then eat as many candies and sweets and ice cream as I wanted. And just chowed down 800 grams of carbs, 200 grams of fats. Go to bed with a full stomach, probably, feel kind of sick from it because I haven't eaten like nasty food like that. And by nasty, I just mean like, really simple sugars. Like it hits me harder when I'm dieting consistently because I'm not, in that kind of state. But if I did that, then what's going to happen is all my muscle glycogen cells, all that little storage cells of muscle sugar water would fill up. Right? That's what I'm going to do for the bodybuilding shows I have coming up. I'm going to be very depleted beforehand, and then the day before, I'm going to eat like 1,000 grams of carbs with a corresponding amount of water, and then the next morning I'm going to wake up, I'll literally look substantially bigger than the day before. right? All that food didn't get turned instantly into fat, but it did get stored as muscle glycogen, you know? So if I have one day where I go extra crazy and eat a bunch of food like that, well, I didn't just put on a bunch of body fat and kill my progress. All I did was refill, all my glycogen and get really carved up. So if over the next 5 days I eat at my intended calorie deficit, well, then I'm good. And all that kind of glycogen will get burned off and I'll get back to baseline. And then, before I know it, I'm back to whatever my, earlier weight was. So one day out of, let's say you dieted well for a month, it's going to be hard to, I couldn't ruin it if, let's assume month 1, totally locked into my deficit. I have one crazy, insane day, literally eating, thousands of calories more than I'm intending to. And then the next month, I'm eating my deficit just as well. That's a blip, right? But there's a difference between a blip and a pattern. If you do it once out of 2 months, totally within reason, you're fine. But twice, 4 times, 5, 10 times, well then, shit, at some point you're not even really dieting, So it's, you can cheat the rules a little bit, like sometimes you can have a little extra food, but for the most part, if you set yourself a goal like that, stick to it. But if you go off the rails, right, what do? Just get back on track, keep moving forward. Don't freak too bad. Axel Tame Z 8067, how do you stabilize your camera in the car so well? I'd also love to know if you have any cinematic inspirations. Your shots and angles just keep getting more creative and cinematic. And to that I say thank you. I do try to do that. Every time I'm in the gym, I don't want to be in there thinking about the camera a lot, because that's not the point. When I'm in the gym, the lift is the primary focus. And then I guess that is one of my hobbies, the camera stuff. This is a whole hobby in and of itself. Yeah, I totally forgot to even bring that up. There's a few other camera questions later we can talk about. But yeah, I just like to, basically my approach is just change it up every set. So if I do one set with a wide angle, 24 millimeter, a few feet away, then the next set I might zoom in, put it further away, maybe do one that is pointed up, maybe do one that's pointed down, do a shot through the mirror, have it where my reflection's out of focus, but I'm in focus. Just, little random things like that. But I just like to change it up because it makes it more fun for me, I think. But thank you for saying that. But how I put it in the car is you just buy a suction mount. Usually the bigger the better, because when this falls, your camera's coming with it, and that sucks. I've never broken a camera like that, but I'm really not asking to either, So just a suction cup, a ball mount, and then you're going to need a 3/8 to a 3/8 to a 1/4 inch screw adapter. Screw the whole thing in, and then it clamps on pretty well to a little Versa clamper or whatever it's called, just something like that. But yeah, this thing is, I just gave it a little smack. It's not going anywhere. So yeah, just a little suction cup, and then the least connections you can have between the suction cup and the camera, the better, because then it's going to be more stable, Jack P9236, what's your advice to prevent injuries? Considering how hard and heavy you train, I'm surprised you aren't so injury prone. That's another thing I've been working on. I have had many injuries across my years, more so in the last 3-ish. I've pulled both my pecs pretty hard, the left one really good. I've had tricep things, tendon. I had my quads. I tore my hamstring, muscularly, not anything off the bone, but I've had all sorts of stuff. And it was to the point where even getting out of bed the wrong way and pushing on something with my chest was really hurting it. This is not just a minor sort of tweak. So as far as I'm concerned, I just try to learn from my mistakes. So if I went too heavy and I did reps that were too fast, back off. And also every time I hurt myself, I try to make sure I at least recover well enough that when I try to come back, I don't hurt myself again. Because re-injury, you're asking for trouble. Because now you're developing scar tissue, and if you keep tearing the same thing over and over again, eventually it's not going to heal properly. It's just going to kind of scar over and like just become a little thing. Like that would suck, you know? So basically just as soon as you're injured, err on the side of caution, ease your way back into it, you know? And if you do, well then you can get back to normal. Like right now I am injury free. I have been for a while and I want to keep it that way. I'll have the occasional tweak, of course, but that's just what happens. You know, everybody gets tweaks every so often. Nikum Luxmaxer, tips to get your squat up. And this might not be the tip that you want to hear, but you just got to squat, you know? Like what made my squat grow, like I do a ton of leg extension work, I do a ton of leg press, but leg press doesn't translate to the squat that hard because leg press is all quads. And the squat is a full body movement. Your glutes are involved, your lower back, you're bracing, you have to stay tight. You know, if you're squatting wobbly, that's not gonna work. You know, that freaking sucks. So you just gotta start squatting. And squatting is hard. Squatting is objectively hard if you're really bringing it. Like a legit, okay, good, I thought it wasn't in focus. Like a legit failure set of squats, you're really getting excited and just amped and like fucking breaking out before you do it. And if you can do that, I do guarantee your squat will go up. But I guess that's a little bit of a challenge. Try to do a real set of 8 to 10 to failure. Set the safeties up so they're just an inch or two below the bottom of your range of motion. I've never liked having a spotter on a squat because like, what if they push me? What if they I don't want that risk. Like I just want me in the safeties so I can set it down gently. So try to do a real set of 10 to failure. It's fucking hard. But if you do, you're going to come back stronger the next day or the next leg day. Come back, do it again, do it again, do it again. And then before you know it, you're freaking squatting pretty hefty, you know? But it's, I think it really is as simple as if you want to get good at the squat, you kind of just have to squat, you know? Oh yeah, see, look, yeah, you already commented. I'm not doubling. Sorry, man. Golden Ghoul 629. Where can we find you at the LA Fit Expo? Also, any advice for first-time Expo attendees? So there's a lot of people going to the Expo. Actually, let me look it up. Yeah, look at it. It's right freaking here. They have a. This is a reel. But yeah, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, Trend Twins. There's going to be a bunch of guys there. So if you're wanting to, because a lot of them are going to have lines at different booths and they'll do different sort of appearances or anything. So in terms of, as a first timer, bring like a backpack because everybody's handing out a bunch of free energy drinks all the time. And then you can leave. Like I've seen people do a haul from expos where their entire hotel room bed is covered in like every energy drink imaginable. So it's a pretty good freaking steal if you can get your hands on them. But in terms of where will I be, not exactly certain. They're the booths will be kind of mapped out and like numbered. But if you want to see somebody like specific, like I'm getting the Trend Twin signature no matter what do I do? I think the like doors open at 9 or it starts at 10 or something. Like if you guaranteed want to get a signature from these guys, show up at like 5. Like show up earlier than anybody else and like be the first one through the door, because then you can at least be the first guy in whatever that line is, get the thing that you really want, and then you're kind of good to walk around, because everybody's still walking around doing all sorts of stuff. Like they've got all like a bunch of like activities and booths and contests, and I don't know if they're doing a bodybuilding show congruent with the expo. They did last year, which was pretty cool. But yeah, if you want to see one, like if you've never seen Ronnie Coleman before or Jay Cutler, get there super early and just book it to whatever their booth is, because some of these, like the lines will get crazy enough where like multiple lines might not work out. But it is a 2-day thing, so if you're going to be there for both days and you show up super early both times, well then you're good for at least 2, you know. But that's, I'd say definitely earlier the better. And then you can spend the rest of the day kind of just walking around checking everything out. And it's just freaking fun seeing all these guys who you only ever see on your phone. That's for freaking sure. Beards and banjos, how intense is your cardio? Am I aiming for a specific heart rate or calorie goal? I think I think heart rate. I'm aiming for a specific heart rate, but sometimes that comes in the form of a calorie goal. So a lot of the times when I'm on like a matrix bike or like a life fitness bike or something, I set it to a specific difficulty where the machine reads 10 calories a minute. But what I'm really aiming for is like if my heart rate's steady 135, that's about right. That's not too much where I'm like huffing and it's going to be a bit too taxing, but it's still enough that I'm doing something and I'm going to be sweating. So I'd say I'm aiming for that 135. And you can't always trust the calorie value, because sometimes you'll get on a cardio piece, you're doing it, and the thing's reading like, 800 calories in 30 minutes. Nah, man, I think the heart rate is probably your most consistent bet. So that's what you'd be watching for the most, because some machines are really easy, just handing out calories, and then some are freaking hard. Like I was on this one bike in New York in a crunch. It was the first crunch I'd ever been to. That was really cool, and I went at it for 30 minutes, and it said 120 calories. So whether or not that really was 120 and all the other machines are lying, I don't know, but it was a hard one for sure. Banana 3676. How have you recovered? Oh, we had kind of talked about a recovery injury question. Yeah, just take your time, ease into it, don't hurt yourself again. Jack T06. What advice would you give for sticking to a clean or dirty bulk? And how do you manage fat gain while bulking? So, let's do a definition. All right, a dirty bulk, by what I would describe, is going to be a bulk where you're eating a bunch of junk and you're getting pretty fat, right? You're looking dirty. You're putting body fat on. So, the idea of like saying you can do a lean bulk is a little kind of foolish also, because I think that's like you're just saying you're going to maintain. Like there's no gaining muscle without a little bit of body fat, at least if you're trying to leverage size like that. So I'd say if you're trying to manage fat gain while bulking, eat in your surplus, not too big of a surplus, or you'll just pack on body fat for no reason. Like you don't need a 2,000 calorie surplus. I don't think anyone ever does. Probably 500-600 calories, something like that. And you can have some treats too. And if you do your cardio consistently, just 30 minutes a day, it will reduce your fat gain for sure. And every time I do my cardio while bulking, it just makes me feel better. My training's better because I'm not completely winded out of breath after leg extensions or, leg curls or anything. So, yeah, I'd say if you add your cardio, eat treats within reason while hitting your macro goals, you're cool. Oh, I'm not going to do it. Sorry, man. No double questions. That's not fair. STR 2000. I find that a bad day at work really messes with my mentality during the gym session. Any tips or methods you use to let go of the daily BS and give total focus to what you're doing in the moment? So, yeah, sometimes some shit piles up, and it's not. Sometimes it's not even big. Like just little, like you ever get hit with like the trifecta where, like rocking your shoe, you hit your hip on the corner of the table, you drop your keys as you're going to unlock the door, and then you also like drop your phone at the same time. Like if you ever get hit with random stuff like that, or just like legit BS, just life, sometimes I feel like I've got a little ball of energy that's just kind of like upsetness. Like I don't really think this, but to explain how I kind of think about it, that is sort of what I'm imagining. Where I've got like this ball, and it's just like I'm just getting fucking annoyed at whatever. So a good little thing for me that I'll do if I'm ever tweaking out is just and then just try to go just try to go about your shit. Take a breath, do a little, like a big something or other, relax your shoulders. Like you ever catch yourself squinting with your eyebrows down, and then you kind of got to do like a little like raise eyebrow to like loosen your face up. Like just a little thing. Like just sometimes take a breath. But I don't have anything like super specific. I'm not like an anger management consultant. Reshab.B9165. Do you think the gym has made your mindset more resilient, like Stoic philosophers of the past who practiced what they preached? Or has the marketability expectation as the Gen X traditional bodybuilder made you more perceptive of the scrutinies online? I don't know. That's a long question. There's a lot going on here. I think I like the idea of old kind of quotes that you'll hear, like sort of cliches and stuff. And in terms of like scrutiny or just like, getting hated on or like trolled, that's where you got to remember that's just on your phone. People say the crazy shit on their phone. Don't freak about it. And if you actually like what you're doing, like I feel pretty comfortable with the stuff that I talk about, just like regular lifting, getting pumps, enjoying the gym. Like I stand behind the stuff I talk about pretty much 100%. I can't really think of anything I say that I don't stand behind. So if somebody's gonna hate or troll me for that, it's like, how can I even take offense? I remember I said this to Chris Williamson. I like this analogy. Like if somebody caught you eating an orange vanilla swirl and then they called you a punk loser for doing that, well, guess I'm gonna keep doing it and I'm gonna keep enjoying it. Not exactly why you're so pressed about the matter, something like that. But I definitely like the idea of what you're kind of saying there about guys who practice what they preached. You never want to be somebody who's just like spouting nonsense and then they don't even live up to it at all. So I hope that answered that question a little bit. There's a lot going on. That dude 534, what made you want to get stronger and bigger? Is it still what drives you today? And I love your content. Happy holidays and keep on keeping on. Yeah, hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. When I was younger, I did gymnastics. So my sports pipeline was like soccer, swimming, diving, gymnastics, and then diving was up till my freshman year in college. And during gymnastics, there's this guy named Connor who at the time was like freaking jacked, like looked like it must have been like a bodybuilder compared to like us 160-pound like high school freshmen. So we do all sorts of calisthenics stuff. So everybody was in like really good shape, and I think that kind of started it a little. But in terms of why I started working out, I just wanted to get big. Like that was the motivation. Being big seemed cool. I want to do that as well. End of freaking story. And I think guys who are like that have an easier time continuing because there's no ulterior motive. There's nothing else that's getting them going. They just want to do it. And I think that definitely still drives me today. That's for sure. Sheepui Sands, do you have a favorite chain gym? Gold's Crunch, 24-hour fitness, etc. I don't know about 24-hour fitness, but I've got some experience at this point. So Anytime Fitness, I think, and none of these are paid plugs. If they were, I'd be rocking a freaking, Anytime Fitness shirt or something. But yeah, Anytime Fitness is cool. They're always open, actually anytime, key cardless entry. You can just scan in with your phone on like a tap to pay kind of deal. I don't know what, I think the contracts are kind of hard to get out of. Like you have to go in person and probably like pay a fee or something. But if you're not going to cancel it, I think you're good. So yeah, Anytime Fitness rarely disappoints. Planet Fitness is classic. I don't really get a lot of trouble for filming in there too, but it depends on the time. If it's a really busy Planet Fitness, these people don't want some guy like coming in and recording. So anybody working there is going to kind of side with them, and you're already asking for trouble by bringing the camera into the gym anyway. So Planet Fitness is solid. LA Fitness, I've been to one. It's fine. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience. So actually, those are kind of the only ones I really know about. Powerhouse Fitness or Powerhouse gyms, those are always sweet, but those are individually owned. Like all you do as an owner of a Powerhouse gym is you license the name. It's your gym, like you can kind of do it however you want. So I wouldn't exactly call that a chain per se, something like that. But I wouldn't say I had a favorite because I like changing it up. Camera and lens recommendations based off personal experience. Ask FMA JARA. Any dream gear? The dream gear that I would imagine isn't real. I want an FX3 with a 6K sensor with internal ND and the newer Sony autofocus, so that when I point the camera at the mirror and I have the dumbbells in the way, it doesn't like jump to the dumbbells and not focus on me. That would be my dream in like a regular small camera body. But in terms of recommendations, I mean, what are you aiming for? You know, like, also, is this going to be like something that you could? Because it's very different if it's just personal, like for you, or like, let's say you've got like a TikTok and you're making edits, things like that. Like, you can even get to the point where you're getting this camera as a business expense. You know, so it kind of, there's levels to it for sure. But in terms of a recommendation, just off the rip for somebody to start with, in terms of being very versatile, I think a ZV-E1 2 with either like a Tamron 1770 or a couple of like Viltrox primes with a really low aperture, like just a 35 and an 80, that would be huge. So no matter what, I'd say something along the lines of an earlier Sony camera, full frame if possible. I think A7 IIIs are not too much more than like 1,000. If that combined with a 35 and an 80, both like, you know, maybe an f1.8 or something prime, if you get them used, even better. That's solid, because that's like a close-up shot and a long shot, and it can give you that kind of camera blur effect. But that's a whole other kind of separate video. You got to watch like Gerald Undone and like cameras with Kofi or whatever his YouTube name is, and you know, check that kind of stuff out. There's a million camera videos. I've probably watched half of them at this point. Let's see. Joyster WW-P6Y, best supplement brands. Is that even a question? Is that even a freaking question? All of the pumps that you've seen over these last few weeks, and actually last few months, but I didn't want to say it because we weren't actually like, you know, fully signed and everything. It's all been from Raw Supplements. So if you're, oh my gosh, you got to be careful though, because there's a stim-free pre that still has beta-alanine in it. So I'm pretty sure they got a tingle-free one out now, but I doubled up on a stim-free pre and then like a Thavage, which is like just kind of their higher stim version. And I thought I was just upping my, like, you know, nitric oxide values from the stim-free. And then I realized I just took like 15 grams of beta-alanine, because I did, you know, like 2 scoops of each. But yeah, it's been solid. That's for freaking sure. Have you ever thought about switching categories for upcoming years in bodybuilding? Going in open division and really becoming a mass monster? By the way, I love your videos. You're an inspiration for me. I'm 14 years old, and I really relate to your philosophy in life. Thank you, Sam. What the heck is that? There we go. Yeah, so, I don't know, man. Oh, the open guys are freaking big. And the bigger that I've got, the less of a need that I've felt to just get big purely for its own sake. You know, so I'm not just in a pursuit of endless size like I might have been in the beginning. Like, I used to imagine there would be like a 300-pound Sam. And I'm not saying that there never will be, you know, I don't know. But no, I mean, I just want to keep getting bigger, but there's no end goal, there's no specific. We'll just kind of see what happens. So if eventually I went open, you'll be the first to know. How to stay consistent to the grind no matter what. That's a tricky one, because there's a lot going into that. But I think one of the best ways, or some of the best traits that people have where they can stick to this kind of stuff really consistently, is there is no debate. There is no inner monologue of, oh, do I do it? I don't know. Maybe I should just go home. I should skip it. I should just, like, there is no bubbling up of these thoughts of excuses. They're just doing it. There's no question that this guy is going to go get a pump. So whether you really like embody that, or you're just trying to emulate it to like fake it so you make it, that is a trait that is very powerful over the long run, where you're just trying to become an unstoppable force, you know? And in the battle of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object, I tell you what, there are no immovable objects that I've ever run into. So if I can even think of an unstoppable force, well, it's just giving me better odds. That's for freaking sure. So I think we're, yeah, 2 more. Julie Dolly, can you talk about increasing calories after dieting for a long time? Dealing with fear of weight gain when getting back to maintenance. So that's classic dysmorphic thoughts. We've all got them. You know, there's nothing wrong with that, of course. And, you know, to that I'd just say, well, I mean, if you really have it in your mind that you like your current state of being lean, well, then what's motivating you to try to get bigger, right? For me, obviously, I like being lean right now. Like I just took a picture of myself sitting after cardio, my hamstrings hanging off the freaking edge of the bench. I can see grains and veins all over the place. Like, that's sweet for me. But I also want to see that version of myself larger. So that is going to entail a longer journey of a, you know, future bulk and then another dieting phase. So if your end goal is to get leaner and bigger, well, then sometimes you got to get a little bit bigger first. You know, you can't go straight from A to C. You got to stop through B, right? B being the bulk. So I'm not saying try to put on a ton of body fat, of course. So just ease into it. You know, there's no reason to go totally crazy, eat a bunch of, you know, Ben and Jerry's every night. Just gradually increase your calories, see how you look, make adjustments from there. You know, no need to totally upturn your whole intake over one night. Watch it over a few days, take some photos, see what happens. There we go. Yeah, one more camera question. It's a finisher. Jordan-US9YU. What camera do you use, and what would be a great first camera to start recording gym sessions? So yeah, that's kind of getting back into the one. So I've been bouncing around. I think the one I've been using the most over the last year is an FX3, which if you have a ZVE1, basically the same thing for a little less or around half price. Used, definitely half price. And what's really going to make a difference is the lenses. You know, so if you can get a couple of low aperture primes or or just fast primes, that'll kind of give you that camera blurry look, which looks really cool. But in terms of a recommendation, I don't know, man. It depends on how much you want to spend on a camera, you know, because I think the sweet spot of quality for your dollar isn't gonna be like $500. You know, not to turn this into a camera Q&A, but the sweet spot is probably gonna be something like used ZVE1, like a Viltrox 35mm something, or like a Sigma, and same thing with like an 85. So that's a, you know, regular angle lens, like a 35mm would be using your phone on 1.5x zoom. That's the equivalent look. That and an 85 with a used ZVE1, you could especially if you got those lenses used too, you could probably find that for about 2,000-ish. And then sometimes people sell this stuff in bundles. But you can also cheat the system, buy a camera with a lens in like a pack on Amazon, and then sometimes there's like a 3-month return window. So if you didn't think it was worth it after a little while, well, you can just send it back and get a refund, and then you just rented a camera for free for however long you just used it for, and you kind of got a little testing window. So maybe don't abuse that too much, or else they'll start catching on, and then we won't be able to do that anymore. But yeah, that would probably be your best bet, because then you could even get something a little fancier, and if you didn't think it was worth it, man, just send it back and you're good. But yeah, I'm freaking cooking in here. I got the heat on, I got the seat warmer on, but I hope some of those answers were a little elucidating to the Sam mindset. Oh my gosh, I just made myself a little nervous. Like, what if I really did get myself stuck off the side of the road? That'd be freaking stupid. But no, this is cool out here. Yeah, it's fun to have a change of scenery. That's for freaking sure. But yeah, going forward, basically another 3 months of prep in terms of, actually dieting for the purpose of the next bodybuilding shows I'm getting into. And then after that, I think I'm going to be very careful about my refeed. I'm not going to overdo it. I'm going to stay lean for a little while, give my stomach a break from plowing so much freaking food down, and then we'll just go from there. But yeah, 2026 is looking up. That is for freaking sure. So I'll see you for a wild chest day tomorrow.